Hey folks, is the Canadian real estate market about to crash? That is the question we are asking with new stress tests. The fact that rents are falling off a cliff across Ontario, even though home prices continue to hit all-time highs. We have a lot to go over that the media is just not talking about. So in the clarity of my transparency and all the beautiful homework I present to you, hit that like button. Kicking it off, folks, we gotta talk about these headlines. You don't have to scroll in the media and the news too far about the Canadian real estate market to see things like hardly anybody is buying condos in Toronto anymore, folks. You keep scrolling around, you see things like Toronto housing market cools down in May as exhausted buyers take a break. Is that true? I mean, if we go in here, GTA home sales down 13% between April and May, but prices still rising. Even though these headlines are triggering a little bit for people that already own real estate or recently bought real estate, it is not actually factual just yet that real estate has turned to the other side. If we come to the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board, the MLS prices, guys, you want to take a look at the composite benchmarks, the single family detached benchmarks. These are representing across the entire Ontario real estate market what the average prices are. And for the entire composite right now, all-time highs going into May at $1.045 million. The single family detached sits at $1.28 million on average. The single family attached at $1 million even. Townhouse, $738,000, and then apartments sit at $638,000. With the best deals right now in the Ontario market coming to you from Newmarket and Oshawa. Just take a look. We'll point out Oshawa because it's definitely one of the cheapest places right now, in my opinion, to buy a townhouse at $592,000 or $517,600 here, folks, with an apartment only costing $387,000. We call our Oshawa the armpit of the city, along with, Hamilton on the other side. And they are actually moving all of the homeless people up to where I live in cottage country. They're putting in all these homeless and low-income housing areas up north here. I don't know why they're shuffling all the city problems down here. Who knows? They're trying to bring Oshawa up. Either way, it might be a good place to pick up some real estate deals. But going through this, guys, it does not matter if we take all of these places into perspective. The composites, the average prices of real estate have risen. Now, with everyone talking about the Toronto condo market and Toronto market kind of stalling out here, I found some really interesting statistics that might be pointing that this is very true. I mean, just start taking a look at some of the prices, because we're not seeing a drastic change here with, a lot of these places, $698,000, a lot of beautiful places hovering between the $6 to $1 million range. And we can see that all in the downtown core area. But where the statistics come into play that I think are prevalently most important is, what are the rental fees? What are these actual owners of these pieces of condos, real estate rental markets actually getting? Because I don't think people are well aware that the average rent for all Canadian properties listed for the rent on rentals.ca in April of 2021 was $1,675 per month, an annual decline of 9%. But that is the global Canadian economy here, guys. Let's take a look at just Toronto, where year over year they have seen a 14.7% decline in the average rental prices to now sitting at $1,816. The reason I'm telling you this right now, guys, is we are heading into a higher period of a stress test. And what that is right now, as it stands, any buyer whose down payment on a home is 1/5 of the purchase price or more has to show they can afford the mortgage payments if the interest rate was 2 percentage points higher than what the bank is offering them for a 5-year benchmark rate published by the Bank of Canada, which currently sits at 4.79%, or whichever is higher. So just to take it into perspective here, let's say you're going to be buying one of these condos, $600,000. You want to rent it out and make an income. Well, you're only going to be getting an average rent right now around $1,900, which doesn't really make sense, because if you're just putting a 20% down payment, $600,000 property, you're still going to be left with almost a $500,000 mortgage. And if that interest rate hovers anywhere between 3 to even 4%, those interest payments alone is actually higher than the rental income you're even capable to achieve in the market right now, which only means one thing: you need a much larger down payment, which keeps coming into this idea that it isn't me or you raising the property prices in Canada, it's simply the rich people. But right now we are in this fluctuation period where things are starting to not make a whole lot of sense. When you got rents coming down, meaning you're not going to be cash flowing off any of these properties with minimum down payment. The fact that we're still seeing all-time home prices going into the end of May here, folks, like we're going to head into this moment that I think things are going to fluctuate around. However, if I can give you some bullish cases here, we are still in a supply and demand problem. Canada is still one of the fastest first world growing nations, there's still tons of people that want to come and live here. And again, those people tend to have money that are buying these places, but we are heading into a generation, I believe, of mostly renters. People like myself, the millennial generation, which is a good sign that there is going to still be a huge amount of demand for rent. It's just a matter of why is rent falling? Why are people generally fleeing the city right now? Probably because they can work from home. And when you can work from home, why not work from the cottage, right? Why not work from a nice suburban area rather than having to go downtown and deal with the insane traffic? That could be a big case that we're seeing here. Either way, I'm keeping my eye open because obviously if the right property ever arrives, I would love to put a down payment on a rental property. But again, I'm not going to be putting up these huge amounts because you really need to come up with 30, 40+% to even make the rental income make sense at the current rates that the market is paying. So at this point, I pass the question off to you guys. Do you think the real estate market's going to crash here? Do you think we're going to head into some increasing volatility, or do you think we're going to head into further all-time high home prices? I would love to hear about it, especially if you are a homeowner and you are renting your home that you've recently purchased. So let me know in that comment section below. But stay cool, stay awesome, and I look forward to catching you tomorrow.